Divorce with Integrity. This is the most important and open discussion on the internet about the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant aspects of moving from matrimony to acrimony to harmony. Good day, beautiful, bundled, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. That's why you tuned into the best show, the most real show. We're talking about the great D. That's things that's happening to over 50% of all marriages in the world. It's called divorce. And you missed the opening part of our intro here when I say divorce sucks. And yet, we're going to find that kernel of goodness, that part of joy, that thing called integrity. Because when you go through one of the most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching experiences of life called divorce, guess what happens? You can become better for it. You can become happier. You can become funnier. And that's what we're going to discuss today, talking about fun and divorce. Do they go together? F and D, D and F? Yes. And we have three people with us that are going to give us some context and give you insights into that. We have wonderful, amazing, fabulous Lori. She is the wife expert. She works with mostly women who are facing the turmoil of marriage disintegrating and deciding, shall I or shall I not? Meaning divorce, not, what's involved, what are all the aspects? We have an amazing fellow, I'll call him a citizen of the world, wonderful Alexandros, who is originally from Greece. Were you born in Germany? No. You're from Greece.
I was born in Germany and I'm from
Born in Germany,
both of my
lived in
parents
Greece. Married in
the Netherlands. I got married in France and then we moved to the Netherlands.
Married in France, divorced in the Netherlands, now living in Mexico, on the west coast of Mexico, correct?
On the west coast?
You're living on the west coast, not the Gulf side. You're living on the other side, right? Anyway, he's an interesting character. And we're supposed to have wonderful Esty. I don't know where our Esty is, but she says she was going to be here. So she's the one who brought you, Alex. So we're just going to jump right in because we only have a half hour and people love this show. Because this show is not about me, Barry Shore, and my initials, BS. It's about reality. And speaking about reality, okay, we're going to bring on Curly Q. Where is she? Okay. And here is one of the we just talked about her. And Esty is the one who brought Alex. So if you like that, that's great. If you don't, hey, it's just the way things are. So we're talking about today, Esty, as I mentioned before, finding the fun in divorce. Because let's be blunt, divorce is a difficult process under the best of circumstances. And yet what happens is something I think we might even begin with Alex, because he was the one who said to Lori and myself before we went on the air that you become actually funnier or have more fun in life after the divorce, because you literally got rid of a lot of stuff that was holding you down into almost a prison. Not that the person you were with was a jailer and was hurting you, but you recognize that it wasn't the best way to live your life. Alex, is that fair to say? And how have you become more fun in life and a funnier person because of divorce?
Oh, look, I think when I was going to face my divorce, and then going into therapy and having my mentors and my coaches, what I realized now 6 years later is that I took a lot of things for way too serious. Like there were just too much tension on it, too much like pressure. And if I look back today, I was like, why the fuck you didn't call it out? Why you just didn't say it just how it was? Why you were not stepping up into your true power and say like, listen, babe, that doesn't work here. We're like fighting and we're mean to each other and we're shitty. And if I look back, I'm having all the time a smile in my face because I feel like how stupid I was to waste my biggest asset in life, my lifetime. So this makes me like a more funny person because I feel like whenever I have a kind of discussion with somebody and getting a little bit too long, like a minute or two or three, I feel like, I'm wasting my fucking time. Because most of the things that I feel from my divorces, it was just a waste of energy, a waste of time, which I could have spent to love myself, to provide value to others, to be a more healthy person. So it might not make me just a funnier person, but it makes me definitely a way more conscious person and way
Okay, so
more aware.
let's talk about this, Alex. So 3 quick things. Only because we're giving it some context. How long were you married?
3 years.
4 years?
3.
3 years. And of those 3 years, how many were happy?
I'm counting in months.
No, I'm asking seriously.
I'm counting the months. I would say almost the first year was I think the best, and then it started to really shift quickly.
So there's an amazing idea that we have in the workplace, and it's around the word stress, because you used serious tension, pressure. I mean, you were using a lot of what we'll call, for want of a better term, very negative terms about your marriage. Serious pressure, tension. So there's an interesting idea that we have that I teach to high-level executives about the difference between stress and passion. You may be putting in 50, 60, 70 hours of work in a week. If you love what you do and you're passionate about it, then it's wonderful. It becomes your passion. But if it's not, it's all stress. So it's a matter of how you approach the process. So in your particular case, you were married happily for a year, and then there must have been a shift in your marriage. And that caused the stress, the tension, the pressure that made you pop and say, oh, I need to get out. Is that correct?
True.
But you became better for it.
Yeah, but it took me a long time to understand that I got into something which I was not aware of the responsibility.
Very nice. So it was on you. You weren't ready for being married.
Yes, true.
Okay. Let's go to, I want to ask Lori, since you're the wife expert and you work with a lot of situations, do you find that the people you're working with, they've been married more than 3 years usually, right? I'm just making an assumption.
20 to
20.
40.
Okay. So now listen to this, Alex, right? She's dealing, by the way, I married 45 years to the same woman. So I'm a different animal than everybody. But Lori's working with people that have been married, let's say 2 decades. And they recognize, if you ask them the question, how long of your 2 decades, how long or much of it was happy? What would they say, generally speaking, Lori?
Depends on which partner you ask. The one who wants to leave is always like, they always say, I haven't been happy in 2 years. And then a little while later, they go, I haven't been happy in 5 years. And then they change it like a couple months later. It's like, I haven't been happy in 10. And then it goes, I haven't been happy in like 30 years. And the wife is like, I didn't know you 30 years ago. The problem is they're just not happy. It really doesn't have much to do about the spouse. It starts like their life, something shifts in their life, but they're looking for something and they decided it's not their spouse and they want to go this way. And their spouse is like, but I want you. And there's this push and pull. And the wife is like, well, it hasn't been good, but I didn't sign up for perfect. In marriage, there's going to be good times and bad times. And the greatest part is sticking together to go through it. But if you decide you want to go, you pick up the pieces and keep yourself happy.
Okay, I want to unpack 2 things that you said. Alex, did you hear? Lori used a great line. I didn't sign up for perfect. Oftentimes, and again, I'm part of it as well. I'm married 45 years. I entered marriage unknowingly, even though I was 29 years old, but I was unknowing of what really the process was about. And I love that line. I didn't sign up for perfect, either of us. And yet you find that part of the marriage process is that ability to enhance each other as opposed to rub each other the wrong way, right? Both of those things can occur. And they're exact same result. In other words, you can rub each other the wrong way and create tension and pressure and such, or you can rub each other and, let's say, like, I look at my wife like she's Aladdin's lamp. You know, I rub the lamp and a genie comes out and I have these wonderful wishes. And that happens to me on a regular basis. But I had to go through stuff to get there.
Yeah.
Part of life is going through stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Shitty stuff.
Oftentimes, by the way, that's I'm going to make a plug for my book. My newest book, actually, I'm going to hold it up only because you're all going to laugh. You've seen it before, but Alex hasn't. Alex, can you see my book?
Yeah, it's good. Nice one.
Oh, shift. But notice where the F is. You got to keep that F in place, right? Can you see it, Lori?
Yeah, Barry,
Yes, nice.
I love that. That is the most amazing cover.
Oh, thank you. I can take full credit for it because I didn't do it. I have a great friend, but it's the essence of what the book is. He understood the book, and I gave him the title, but he's the one who created that because that's exactly what you were talking about. And I want to shift over to wonderful Esty, who was for a number of years of her marriage was, I'm going to say these words, Esty, and you can correct me and say, hey, Barry, you're full of it. Was part of your marriage initially was very idyllic. It was wonderful. I mean, you were giving classes, your husband was doing things, you're having children. It seemed on the outside to be, quotation marks, the perfect marriage.
Yes.
When was it not the perfect marriage?
I can't say it was ever perfect, right? My assessment is really that we had 7 good years and 8 bad ones. And what do you call bad, right? But I would say the first 7 years that were good did fall into this idyllic. We lived a very idealistic life, right? Kid after kid after. I had, in the first 7 years, I had 4. Yeah, pretty much. For 7, 8 years, right? So bunch of small children living in Jerusalem. I was working and teaching. We had a beautiful open home, and people looked at us as a model couple, really. And there definitely were internal challenges. There was a lot of growth, but I didn't go into marriage thinking it was going to be anything different. I didn't go into marriage thinking it was going to be fun. That'd be nice. I lived my whole life as a personal growth journey, so I didn't think marriage wasn't going to be part of that. And so, yeah, it's not like you weren't wrong. That was just my additional layer.
So when was that shift from the 7 years of the model marriage and entering into what you call the 8 years of was there an event? Was a process? Was there something
it was incoming? So my ex-husband, when we met, was studying in the circles that we traveled in ultra-Orthodoxy. That was the most praiseworthy thing for a man to do, would be to study Torah, if he has the ability to do it. And when we married, our plan was we'd go to Jerusalem, live there for as long as we could. He'd study for a year or 2 and then get a job. We'd probably move back to the States. He had a connection to get into social work school, and that was our loose plan. My dad said he would help us out in the beginning. I was going to work, very capable of that. That's the plan. 1 year in, 2 years in. My dad's still helping us out. I got a good job. We're happy there. We stay 3 years in, 4 years in. We're still going. We're like, okay, He's no longer going to social work school. He's studying. He got ordained as a rabbi. But it was getting harder and harder for me to manage everything. And I'm the kind of person that, I think there's like a quote about this, right? It's like, no one told me I couldn't do it, so I did. So no one ever told me, I didn't come from that background. So I hadn't seen a model for what it looks like when the woman does everything and the man studies. I had no model for it. But I was like, okay, I do everything he studies. Got it. So I was doing everything, working, finances, taking care of the home, taking care of the children, all the cooking, all the housework, like everything. And I was getting burnt out and burnt out and burnt out.
So let me jump in here because I want to give context for people. I think part of what you said, and you had a 15-year marriage, contrast with wonderful Alexandros, who was a 3-year marriage. So again, not that time matters, but just to put it in context. And yet you both came to a similar place where there was tension and pressure and seriousness that was incapable of being handled just because, hello, we're humans. You know, part of what I have found working with people over the years, most of the people I work with are very high achieving in the sense that they are recognized by the world as they make a lot of money and they do these things, but they put themselves in pressure cookers because they don't recognize the distinction between stress and passion, and they get into stress. And stress is one of the most powerful processes that any human being can go through. And only when you're willing to step out of it, as Alexandros has chosen, and if you have chosen, and then go to another place, and not the place of frustration and anger, but the place of growth, integrity, and awareness. Is that fair to say, Alex?
Yeah, it sounds good. Nice. True.
So, and you're better for it. Am I correct?
Yeah, it takes work. I mean, you need also to do the inner work. Huh? It has nothing to do anymore with the outside. I was also not taking care anymore about, I was not anymore thinking about what other people would think about me, because I see that today in my own coachings, a lot of people just care about what other people would think about them if they get divorced. And I had that too. I come from Greece, so my relatives told me I'm a loser. And this was very hard on me. I felt like, oh my God, everybody will think that I'm a loser. And when I let go of this idea that I don't care what people will think about me, I need to get my life together.
So again, I'm going to unpack that for the listening audience, because we have, thank God, thousands of people who tune in, because this is a show where it's not BS, it's real. Part of living life in integrity is exactly what you just said, Alex. If you're always thinking about what other people will think about you, you can't live your life. It's not real. I mean, Esty had that for the 8 years of the process, because let's be blunt, people were looking at the model couple.
Do you want to know the turning point?
Yes.
The turning point was when I needed it to change and it couldn't. That was the turning point.
When you needed what?
The turning point was about 7 years in, when I left my job and started my own business, about 6 years in. And then I was doing everything, but I didn't have a steady salary anymore. And my dad stopped supporting us. So we lost support. I was now the sole supporter as an entrepreneur and I was pregnant with my 4th. And I was like, we're done. We're done. Like, I'm done. You need to get a job. Like, you need to get a job. Like, the whole model of what we're doing needs to change, because I cannot do this anymore. Like, that was my limit. At least it was the limit I thought I had. I kept doing it. So it apparently wasn't. That was the turning point, because he tried and it didn't work. And so then we moved to the States, and then it just got worse. And it was just a downhill.
So was your husband capable of recognizing that what you needed was not just somebody to be working and contributing money, but that recognizing that you were that anchor, which we'll call, for want of a better term at the moment, the male role. In other words, he was not assuming the true role that he should have been, which is contributing not just bank account, but emotionally.
Yeah, I think that he was not, and still is not. And I think it's his wiring. I don't think he's capable of it. He really saw that that's what he was doing. He really felt that, and this was something he clarified in the divorce, that was my biggest turning point. And I think I've talked about this on one of the shows before. He genuinely felt and feels that his studying was essentially a form of energetic contract, and that all of my professional success was due to his studies. regardless of his contribution.
No, wait a minute. This is so important. I want to shift to Alex for a moment and then specifically to Lori. Alex, was your wife supportive of your desire to not just get a divorce, forget that, but to get personal growth? Was she also on a personal growth path, or she wasn't interested in that at all?
I have to say that I would have never been that I would never be that business person that I am today without her. She's a super high overachiever, high performing person, worked in Oregon for Nike, top position in Europe. She was teaching me so much about being like a really good businessman. So I have to be honest, like to the universe, if she can hear that, I'm so thankful for that teaching. But what happened is when I started to outperform her, it became a competition. Because I started my own company, and she's like, this guy is moving ahead, and he's going fast, and he's going high. And she's so like,
this is so important what you just said. I want to ask Lori. Lori, jump in on here because I'm sure you would
so much to say.
Okay.
I wish I could, like, that is there should be no competition in a marriage. Your teams. The competition creates animosity and division. There's no competition. We cheerlead for each other, right? And that's such a bummer that happened, because it sounds like she was such a motivating person for you. Okay, so what's the question, Barry? That got me off focus.
Yeah, I want you to, if you would, comment on what Alex just mentioned, and also wonderful Esty, about the fact that there was the inability of the other side, the spouse, to recognize the pain in the person. And again, what you said, Alex, entering therefore into competition, whether it was on the business level or in Esty's case, saying, well, I'm the one who provided you the ability, Esty, to be so successful. You just don't recognize it.
I do. My ability for success is different than Alexandra's, right?
He was saying came from him and his studies. In other words, there was a competition in the mind, not just in business. So I'm asking you, Lori, do you see that happening in the women mostly that you work with, that, oh my gosh, there's some competitive aspect here that we're not a team.
Yes. But I help them work around that, because when I just this morning I was talking to a lawyer, and lawyers think up here, and she's married to a guy who makes less money than her. And there's like this disconnect because he doesn't feel like the man and she is the man. So he's never going to feel safe there. So he needs to feel like a man. Does that make her dumb? Like she dumbs down? Yeah. Like take off your hat, work hat, put it in the corner, and be a part of that marriage. But sometimes people never find that way of getting there. And if they don't, they move on with integrity to understand, like, well, you're you, I'm me. I don't really think this is working with us together. And that's okay. But I understand that you want to pray for me to be successful and not participate in the marriage. Okay. I'd rather you get a job and, or at least take care of the laundry and, food and care for the kids, or at least do that kind of stuff while you pray for me to be successful. But if you can't do that, then I'd rather shift away from this to find a partner that can help me do these things.
So again, this is coming to, and our time goes by so fast, this is coming to a fascinating issue of, again, this is called divorce with integrity. And the ability for a partner in a marriage situation to live with integrity. If that can happen, then you can have a creation of a team, of a harmonious, wonderful model marriage, we'll call it. Otherwise, what happens is that there needs to be a break and a shift for each partner to recognize and find where you are literally comfortable with self. So that, Alex, as you said, that you don't have the L in front of you, loser because you got divorced, or Esty, loser because you got divorced. As people will look at that and say, no, look at them now. They're healthy, capable, fulfilled beings, having gone through a very difficult process. on almost in some level, the birth canal. What is the birth canal? We're calling it divorce. But if you approach it in the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant way that we're talking about, which is with integrity, then guess what can happen? Fun, more benefit, more smiles, more love. Esty wants to weigh in. Yes.
I want to make a point about fun because I was speaking to someone just recently who's like, how are you doing and what are you up to, blah, blah, blah. And I was just telling her what I'm up to, right? I'm doing intensive study of social ballroom. I'm in Mexico at least once a month, which is how I met Alexandros. And I do a lot of fun things. And she's like, seems like you're really having a lot of fun. I was like, yeah, because I didn't have fun for like more than 10 years. None.
Right.
And I had no time for fun. I remember making a choice when I started studying coaching. I was working full time. I had 2 babies, like ages 0 and 2. Okay. Working full time as a CIO, married, hosting, still doing all the things. And I started studying coaching and they're like, how are you going to do this? I said, I'm just putting friends and fun on hold. That was a decade. I put friends and fun on hold for a decade. And suddenly now on the other side of divorce, my ex takes care of the kids a couple days every week. No, it's not a joke. I have time for friends and fun. I have more friends and fun in my life now than I think I ever have, for sure, since I was like a teenager.
Okay.
So this is so important. Yes, go ahead, Lori, please.
So what Esty just said, she said, I have to put fun on hold, right? And I always say, whatever you do, if I was a gas station attendant, I would have fun being a gas station attendant. Yes. I would have fun being a mom. I would have fun doing laundry. You don't have to wait to go out with your friends to decide this is fun. Every day, from the moment you wake up, making coffee could be fun. It is seeing those little moments with these big eyes and living like you're 12, like, wow, look, I have a coffee maker. I put a pot in here and I push it down and push a button and it makes me coffee. How freaking cool. It's being grateful and having fun in those little moments.
Yes, and some of us are wired for novelty. I am wired for novelty. And so if I can have fun putting a little pot in the coffee maker the first time, it is not this, it's just different people are different.
Yeah.
I am wired for novelty. And so what I put on hold was novelty, was recreation, because there wasn't space.
This is so wonderful because remember the word, we'll do this on another show coming up soon. Recreation means really recreating oneself on a regular basis. And one of the things that I'm going to make this statement, wonderful Esty, one of the things I think that you found when you became a coach is that the process of allocating time for certain things is part of the process of learning how to coach people. You have to allocate time for this, a half hour for that, 15 minutes this, a workout there. And all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, I never allocated any time for FU. That's what I call it. It's the 4-letter FU word, FU, capital N, capital N. So fun is a fundamental, that's the first part of fundamental. Fun is a fundamental aspect of the human condition. If you are not enjoying life to the full, in the sense, like you say, Esty, as novelty on a regular basis, or as you say, wonderful Lori, just get up in the morning, make coffee and say, wow, Alex is living in Mexico, having been all over the world and now living life to the full. This is the essence of why people have gone through and are going through divorce and not needing to know that it's bright and sunshine out there. It's not darkness and typhoons.
True. So I say to many people, the divorce was the best thing that could happen in my life.
And by the way, that's the reason this all began. This whole show began because of a comment that wonderful Esty made to me that in essence, she's finding out it is the best thing if it's done with and for integrity. The integrity of the human being, the individual, the uniqueness of recognizing that I am and I can be. So we're going to do two things because we only have 28 seconds. We're going to do a hug like we do every time. Alex, I'm going to tell you what hug stands for. Ready? Heartfelt, unlimited giving. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And our blessing from all of us, from Lori, from Steve, Alex, and from Barry, go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go. Divorce sucks. Welcome to Divorce with Integrity. This is the most